By the time this video ends, the global economy will have successfully convinced thousands of smart professionals to trade their lifetime freedom for temporary objects. We are conditioned to measure wealth by salary numbers, but the math shows that high-income poverty is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Imagine two completely different people. The first earns over $150,000 a year. They drive a luxury SUV. Their house is filled with the latest furniture. Every room has expensive decorations. The garage is packed with tools. The kitchen is full of appliances they barely use. Every year they upgrade their phone. Every few years they replace their car. Their wardrobe keeps growing. From the outside, they look successful. Now imagine another person. They earn less than half as much. Their home is smaller. Their furniture is simple. They wear the same high-quality clothes for years. Their car is almost 10 years old. They rarely buy anything without thinking about it first. From the outside, they don't look rich at all. Now here's the interesting part. 10 years later, the first person still has to work. The second person doesn't. Who would you rather be? Most people assume wealth is created by making more money, but that's almost never where real wealth begins, because getting rich and looking rich are completely different games, and most people accidentally spend their entire lives winning the wrong one. Today, I'm going to show you why owning less can actually make you wealthier, why the richest people often buy fewer things than everyone else, and why almost every purchase you make costs far more than the price on the tag. Because there is one financial lie underneath all of it, and once you see it, you'll never look at money the same way again. Most people think they have an income problem. I'd save more if I earned more. I'll start investing after my next raise. I just need a better paying job. Sounds logical, except reality keeps proving otherwise. Look at professional athletes, lottery winners, celebrities, people earning millions every year. Many of them end up broke, not because they stopped earning, because they never stopped increasing their lifestyle. Every raise created new expenses. Every bonus became an excuse for a bigger purchase, a better house, a newer car, a nicer vacation, a more expensive neighborhood, until eventually, their income became enormous. But so did the cost of simply existing. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the quietest financial traps ever created. Here's how it works. Imagine you get a raise. Your salary increases by 20%. At first, you're excited. You promise yourself you'll finally save money, maybe even invest. But then something interesting happens. Your old apartment suddenly starts to feel too small. Your car starts to look old. Your phone feels slow. The restaurants you used to enjoy don't seem special anymore. Nothing around you actually changed. Only your expectations did, and those expectations are incredibly expensive, because once your lifestyle expands, it almost never shrinks again. Humans adapt surprisingly fast. The first week in a luxury hotel feels incredible. After a month, it simply feels normal. The same thing happens with every purchase. A new car impresses you for a while. A bigger television feels exciting for a while. The newest phone makes you happy for a while. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Your brain treats every improvement as temporary. It celebrates, then it resets. It quietly updates its definition of normal. Then it waits for the next one. Your happiness returns almost exactly where it started. But your monthly expenses don't. The joy is temporary. The bill is permanent. And that's where people unknowingly begin trading their future for temporary excitement. Here's a simple question. If someone doubled your salary tomorrow, how much of that extra money would still be in your bank account 5 years from now? Be honest. For most people, almost none. Not because they're irresponsible, because everything around them is designed to make sure of it. Modern life constantly whispers the same message. You've earned it. You deserve better. Why settle? Those messages are everywhere. Advertisements, social media, friends, coworkers, even successful people accidentally reinforce them. When someone buys a larger house, others begin questioning their own. When someone upgrades their car, everyone else's suddenly feels older. This creates a race with no finish line, because there will always be someone with a bigger house, a faster car, a nicer vacation, a more expensive watch. If your definition of success depends on keeping up, you've entered a game you can never actually win. But here's the strange part. The people who become financially free usually stop playing that game altogether. They realize something that completely changes how they see money. Money isn't valuable because it buys things. Money is valuable because it buys choices. It buys time. It buys freedom. It buys the ability to walk away from a job you hate, to take 6 months off, to spend more time with your family, to start a business, to sleep peacefully knowing one unexpected bill won't destroy your future. Every unnecessary purchase quietly steals a tiny piece of that freedom, not because the item itself is evil, but because every dollar spent today is a dollar that can never work for your future again. And once you understand that, a strange thing begins to happen. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" Instead, you ask a much better question. What is this actually costing me? Because almost nothing costs what you think it costs. Look around the room you're sitting in right now. Don't move. Just look. Count how many objects you can see. Your phone, your desk, the chair you're sitting on, the TV, the lamp, the books. Now imagine that every single one of those objects sends you a bill every month. Not a huge bill, just a small one, a few dollars here, a few dollars there. Would you still keep all of them? Probably not. But here is the truth. That is already happening. You just don't see the bills. Because almost nothing costs you only once. The price tag is just the beginning. Ownership is a hidden subscription. Imagine buying a bicycle. Most people think, I spent $800. No, you spent much more than that. Now you need somewhere to keep it. You need locks, maintenance, repairs, replacement tires, cleaning supplies, maybe even a bike rack for your car. If you move, you have to move the bike too. If it breaks, you pay to fix it. If it's stolen, you feel the financial pain for weeks. That single purchase quietly created years of future costs. Multiply that by everything you own. Your home is not full of possessions. It's full of unannounced subscriptions. Except nobody calls them subscriptions. They're just called your stuff. But physical clutter eventually becomes mental clutter. Researchers have repeatedly found that visual clutter directly increases stress and reduces your ability to focus. Your brain never truly ignores a mess. It keeps scanning it, asking tiny, exhausting questions all day long. What should I do with that? I need to organize this. I forgot I even had that. Together, those thoughts become an unpaid, invisible job that you do every single day. So owning less isn't just about a cleaner house. It's about getting your attention back. There is another hidden cost that is even more expensive. Imagine you spend $1,000 today on something unnecessary. Most people believe they just lost $1,000. Not exactly. What you actually lost is everything that $1,000 could have become. If that money had stayed invested, compounding year after year, it would quietly multiply while you sleep. Which means every unnecessary purchase has two prices. The first is what you pay today. The second is the future freedom you just gave up. This triggers a dangerous psychological trap known as the Diderot Effect. In the 18th century, the French philosopher Denis Diderot was given a beautiful, luxurious dressing gown as a gift. He loved it. But then he noticed his old wooden desk looked shabby next to it. So he replaced the desk. Then his chair didn't match. So he bought a new chair, then a new rug, then expensive artwork. He ended up rebuilding his entire study and plunging deep into debt, all because of a free gift. He wrote that he was once the absolute master of his old robe, but had become a slave to the new one. And you have lived this exact same trap. You buy a beautiful new sofa. Suddenly, your old coffee table looks cheap. You replace the table. Now the rug doesn't match. You buy a new rug. The curtains suddenly feel outdated. Then the lamps. One single purchase quietly ordered 10 more. Not because you needed them, but because your brain hates when things don't match. Modern companies understand this perfectly. They don't sell products, they sell identities. You're not buying running shoes, you're buying the identity of a runner. The purchase creates an instant feeling of progress without requiring any of the actual work. Your brain receives a chemical reward before you've achieved anything. And once that feeling fades, you look for the next purchase. The cycle repeats. Until one day, you look around your home and realize it's full of objects, but strangely empty of satisfaction. This is where wealthy people begin thinking differently. Instead of asking, "What do I want to own?" they ask, "What kind of life do I want to live?" One question fills your house with subscriptions. The other builds your financial freedom. If buying more slowly makes you poorer, what does the opposite actually look like? Most people imagine minimalists sitting in empty apartments, sleeping on the floor, owning 3 shirts, and never enjoying life. But that is not what financially successful minimalists do. They don't own less because they hate spending money. They own less because they are buying something infinitely more valuable. Freedom. Imagine being offered 2 gifts. The first is a brand new luxury watch. The second is 1 extra year of early retirement. Which one would you choose? Most people don't hesitate. They take the year. Because deep down, we all understand that time is worth more than things. The problem is, we rarely spend our money like we actually believe that. Every unnecessary purchase quietly exchanges future freedom for a brief moment of excitement. It feels insignificant. One purchase, then another, then another. Until years later, you realize you didn't just spend money. You spent your options. Real wealth isn't measured by how much you own. It's measured by how many choices you have. Can you quit a toxic job? Can you survive 6 months without a paycheck? Can you start a business? Can you retire before everyone else? That is real wealth. Not the car in your driveway, but the absolute freedom behind your decisions. Imagine Alex and Ben. Both earn exactly the same salary. Every month, Alex spends an extra $100 on things that make life feel a little nicer. A newer phone, trendier furniture, more clothes. Nothing outrageous. Ben invests that same $100 instead. Just $100. Nothing extraordinary. After 1 year, the difference doesn't seem dramatic. After 5 years, it's noticeable. But after 20 years, they are living completely different lives. Not because Alex made terrible decisions, but because compound interest quietly rewarded one habit and completely ignored the other. Money that earns money eventually earns more than you could ever earn yourself. There comes a point where your investments work harder than you do. That is why every unnecessary purchase has an invisible twin called opportunity cost. You stand in a store, you see something you want. The price tag says $300. But that is not the real price. The real price might be $300 today, or several $1,000s decades from now. Because money always has 2 values, its value today and everything it could become tomorrow. Financially free people always see both numbers. Instead of asking, can I afford this? They ask, is this worth delaying my freedom? Surprisingly, most purchases fail that test. But that doesn't mean you should never buy anything again. Minimalism isn't about buying cheap things. It's about buying the right things. There is an important concept called key cost per use. Imagine two jackets. One costs $80, the other costs $400. Most people assume the cheaper jacket is the smarter purchase. But what if the $80 jacket falls apart after one winter, while the $400 jacket lasts 15 years? What if you wear the expensive one nearly every day, but the cheap one stays forgotten in the closet? Suddenly, the expensive jacket becomes the bargain. A quality mattress, a comfortable office chair, a reliable laptop, good shoes? These are not expenses. They are tools you use constantly. The real waste isn't buying expensive things. The real waste is buying things you will barely use. Before buying anything, ask one honest question. How many times will I actually use this? If the answer is probably twice, don't buy it. If the answer is every single day for the next 10 years, it's worth paying more. But perhaps the most powerful habit of all takes less than 24 hours to master. Whenever you want to buy something impulsively, wait just one day, 24 hours. That's it. At first, it feels unnecessary, but something fascinating happens. The excitement begins to fade. The urgency disappears. That sudden feeling of, I need this, slowly transforms into, actually, I'm fine without it. Your emotions changed. And emotions are terrible financial advisors. The wealthiest people don't trust every impulse their brain creates. They build small pauses between desire and action. Because that tiny gap is exactly where good financial decisions are born. Buying less no longer feels like a sacrifice. It starts feeling like total control. Like you are finally making decisions instead of advertisements making them for you. But there is one invisible force still working against you. A force so powerful that it quietly convinces people earning twice as much as you to feel just as broke. Imagine this. You finally buy your dream car. For weeks, you can't stop looking at it. You find excuses to drive. You park a little farther away, just so you can admire it while walking back. It feels incredible. Then something strange happens. A few months later, it's just your car. Nothing about it changed. But the excitement disappeared. Now imagine your neighbor buys the newest model. Suddenly, the car you loved a few months ago doesn't feel quite as special anymore. What happened? Your happiness didn't disappear because the car became worse. It disappeared because your brain adapted. And then, it compared. This is one of the oldest survival mechanisms humans have. Thousands of years ago, comparing ourselves to others helped us survive. Today, it helps companies sell more products because comparison has become a business model. Every day, your brain processes thousands of carefully designed messages. New phones, new clothes, new kitchens, new vacations, new watches, new homes. Every advertisement quietly says the same thing. Your life would be better if you had this. Social media makes it even worse. For thousands of years, people compared themselves to a few neighbors. Today, you're comparing yourself to millions of people. People showing only their best moments, their newest purchases, their perfect homes, their luxury vacations, their biggest achievements. You never see the debt, the anxiety, the arguments, the overtime, the sleepless nights. You're comparing your entire life to someone else's highlight reel, and your brain doesn't know the difference. It simply concludes, I'm falling behind. So you buy something. not because you truly needed it, but because for a brief moment, it feels like catching up. The problem is, there is no finish line. Someone will always have a bigger house, a newer car, a better body, a nicer vacation, a more expensive watch. If your happiness depends on staying ahead, you've chosen a race that no one wins. This is why defining enough changes everything. Ask yourself a simple question. How much is enough? Not someday. Today. How big does your house actually need to be? How many pairs of shoes do you really wear? How many watches can you wear at once? How many streaming subscriptions do you actually use? Most people have never answered these questions. And if you never define enough, the world will define it for you. Spoiler alert, it will never be enough. Because companies don't make money when you're satisfied. They make money when you feel incomplete. Lifestyle inflation works like this. You earn more, so you spend more. Then your new lifestyle becomes normal. Now you need even more money, just to feel the same. But the moment you're content, you close the circle. There's a quote from the Stoic philosopher Seneca that captures this perfectly. Poor man is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. Think about that for a moment. Real poverty isn't always an empty bank account. Sometimes it's an endless appetite. Because no amount of money can satisfy a mind that's constantly searching for the next upgrade. But a mind that understands enough becomes surprisingly difficult to manipulate. Advertisements lose their power. Trends lose their urgency. Comparison loses its grip. And for the first time, your financial decisions become your own. This is why minimalism isn't really about owning fewer things. It's about reclaiming control. Control over your attention. Control over your money. Control over your future. And once you regain that control, you stop asking, "What can I buy?" and start asking, "What kind of life am I building?" One of the richest men in history never played that game. Warren Buffett became a billionaire decades ago. Yet he still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958, not because he can't afford something bigger, because he never needed to. Think about that. The man who could buy almost any mansion on earth chose not to. Meanwhile, people earning a tiny fraction of his wealth constantly upgrade to impress people they'll never meet. Buffett once said that if you're buying things you don't need, eventually you'll have to sell things you do. That's the difference. One person used money to buy status. The other used money to buy freedom. So let's get practical. 2 questions. That's the whole system. The first one, the replacement question. Walk through your home and pick up things at random. Ask one question. If this disappeared tonight, would I go out tomorrow and buy it again? For most of what you own, the honest answer is no. Not because it's bad, because it's already served its purpose, or it never had one. Those things aren't neutral. They're taking up space, attention, and cleaning time, and giving you nothing back. The second one, rent the thing before you own the thing. Here's a piece of math that has saved people small fortunes. Take the price of buying it, divide it by the price of renting it for a day. That's how many days you have to use it before owning is cheaper. Then be brutally honest about how many days a year you'll actually use it. Skis. A full setup. Skis, bindings, boots, against a day's rental. You're looking at somewhere around 25 to 30 days before ownership wins. How many days a year does the average person actually ski? 5, maybe 7. So that's 4 or 5 years to break even, by which point the boots have gone soft and the skis are 2 generations old. And that's the cheap example. A jet ski, a boat, a camper. With those, the purchase price is the smallest number in the equation, because now you're paying for storage, insurance, registration, winterizing, maintenance, and something to tow it with. Those costs run whether you use it or not. A boat sitting in a driveway all summer is still costing you money every single month. There's an old joke among boat owners that the two best days of owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it. It's a joke because it's true. And the same logic applies to the least glamorous version of this. The tile saw you need for one bathroom, the floor sander you need for one room, the pressure washer you need for one weekend a year. Rent them, not because you're being cheap, because you're refusing to buy a storage problem. And there's a second benefit almost nobody mentions. Renting first tells you whether you actually like the hobby. Most enthusiasm is temporary. Better to discover that with a rental receipt than with a garage. 2 questions. That's the whole system. And neither one requires more willpower than you already have. Imagine you're 70 years old. You're standing inside your house. Everything you own is around you. Now ask yourself one question. Which of these objects was actually worth trading part of your life for? Let's go back to the 2 people we met at the beginning. The first one earned more, had the nicer house, the newer car, the bigger TV, the closet full of clothes, the latest phone. From the outside, everyone assumed they were successful. The second person lived differently. They bought fewer things, kept what they actually used, ignored trends, invested the difference. From the outside, they looked ordinary. Now, fast forward 20 years, the first person still wakes up to an alarm clock every Monday morning. Not because they want to, because they have to. Their lifestyle became too expensive to escape. Every paycheck already has a destination. The mortgage, the car payment, insurance, subscriptions, credit cards, upgrades, maintenance. Their possessions slowly became obligations. Now look at the second person. They still own less. But something has changed. They don't panic when unexpected expenses appear. They don't fear losing their job. They don't lie awake wondering how they'll pay at next month's bills. They don't need to impress anyone, because they already own something far more valuable than expensive things. They own peace. And peace is incredibly difficult to buy, unless you've spent years buying less. This is where most people misunderstand wealth. They think wealth means having everything. It doesn't. Real wealth is needing very little. Imagine someone offered you 2 lives. In the first, you own everything you've ever wanted. Luxury cars, designer clothes, a huge house. But every month, you desperately need your paycheck. In the second, your home is simple. Your car is reliable. Your wardrobe is small, but your investments quietly pay your bills while you sleep. Which life sounds richer? The answer seems obvious. Yet every single day, millions of people unknowingly choose the first life. Because modern culture celebrates visible wealth, while ignoring invisible wealth. Nobody notices the emergency fund. Nobody compliments your index funds. Nobody admires your low monthly expenses. Nobody sees your financial independence. But one day, those invisible decisions become visible. While others are forced to keep working, you have options. While others panic during recessions, you stay calm. While others chase the next promotion, you choose whether you even want it. That's what money was always supposed to buy. Not more things, more freedom. And here's something most people never realize until much later. Minimalism isn't really about subtraction. It's about making room. Room for the things that actually make you happy. Room for opportunities. Room for experiences. Room for relationships. Room for health. Room for purpose. When your life isn't buried under constant consumption, you finally have the space to ask a question most people never stop long enough to consider. What actually makes me happy? An Australian palliative care nurse spent years with people in their final weeks. She wrote down what they said they regretted. Almost nobody said, "I wish I'd bought a bigger television," Or, I wish I'd upgraded my phone sooner. The regrets were almost always the same. I wish I'd spent more time with people I loved. I wish I'd worried less. I wish I'd lived more intentionally. Those things don't require owning more. They usually require owning less. Think about it. Your favorite childhood memory, your best conversation, that unforgettable trip, laughing until your stomach hurt, watching the sunset with someone you love, holding your child for the first time. None of those moments became meaningful because you bought something. They became meaningful because you were fully present. That's what excessive consumption quietly steals. Not just money, attention, time, presence. It convinces us to spend our lives maintaining things instead of living them. The irony is almost poetic. The more we own, the more our possessions begin owning us. Until one day, we're working to pay for a life we no longer have time to enjoy. But the opposite is also true. Every unnecessary purchase you don't make creates a tiny piece of freedom. At first, it doesn't feel significant. One less gadget, one less impulse buy, one less upgrade. But freedom compounds, just like money does. One decision becomes 10, 10 become hundreds, hundreds become habits, and habits become a completely different life. So the next time you're about to buy something, pause for just a moment. Don't ask, "Can I afford this?" Ask something much more important. What am I giving up to own it? Maybe the answer is nothing. Then buy it, enjoy it, use it. That's not the enemy. But if the answer is less freedom, less flexibility, more stress, or years of delayed financial independence, then maybe the most valuable thing you can own is the ability to walk away. Because in the end, the richest person in the room is almost never the one with the most possessions. It's the one who needs the least. And maybe that's what being rich was supposed to mean all along. If this video changed the way you think about money, don't let it become just another idea you forget tomorrow. Before the day ends, find one thing in your home you wouldn't buy again today. Sell it, donate it, or simply let it go. It won't make you rich overnight, but it might start something much bigger. Because wealth isn't built in a single decision. It's built in thousands of small ones that nobody else ever sees. One day, someone else will own everything you currently own. Your house, your car, your clothes, your phone, everything. The only thing nobody will inherit is the time you traded to buy them. So choose carefully, and I'd like to know which one you picked. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing in your home you'd never buy again? If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more on wealth, psychology, and building a life that's truly worth living. I'll see you in the next one.